Consideration of items for future meetings. I have a couple of items I'd like to bring up, but I'll kind of share with everyone else. You want to speak first? Any ideas? Any consideration items? Tom, Mona, Brian, Lorena, Bill, Laura?
I think we threw some out
With
about
IASB?
ISB and then possibly doing a board. I always like when they come in and do a board evaluation as kind of a baseline.
So I had a couple of items I'd like to add for consideration at our next board meeting. I'd like us to discuss the creation of a board committee to discuss learning loss and the transition back to school in the fall. This would be an open committee of the board. I think there's a lot of discussion this board has had in session and concerns about what next year looks like, and it's more of a chance for us to have an in-depth report out from the administration and still be mindful of continuing the board business during our regular meeting. So I would put that out there, and I would suggest that I could work with Dr. Skinkis about some possible topics, and we can have a further discussion about it at our next board meeting, if that's something we could adopt and move forward on. The other item I wanted to mention was just general communications. I think those of us who've been on the board know the general cadence of submitting questions and responding to questions. The new members obviously have to get up to speed on that. Dr. Skinkis has a document that was shared with us as new members, I know, talking about the calendar for the year and then how questions are submitted and responded to. So I would put that as an item for discussion. I think once we get that in, I'm assuming in a Friday update or some other type of communication from Dr. Skinkis, I'd like us to have some thoughtful feedback, what works, what doesn't work. Is there anything we'd want to change as former board members or new board members to make our flow of communication work the best? I have one more item. And then I also want to make sure that we have on the agenda for discussion is make sure we keep goal setting front and center. Obviously, the now former board adopted a mission statement after many months and almost a year of deliberation. I think it's a sound document, but now we need to build on that and do the goals, right? And the goal setting work requires a certain amount of research on our part and knowledge and understanding of the district. So I'd like to keep that on there as another item for us to continually touch on as we move forward. So anything else on that?
Yeah, I've got one thing I'd like to
Sure.
add for discussion next meeting. I'd like to provide an update of the apprenticeship opportunities.
Okay. Did you want the administration to come and give that? Is that what you're looking for? Or you wanted to provide a
No,
summary?
I'll give a brief update.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Did you want administration to kind of pair with you so that they could
Yeah,
talk
actually,
about
that would be a good idea.
what they're
Just,
doing on
He's
the
working,
student
Mr.
side?
Durkin's working closely with Miss Augustine and
Yeah.
Dr. Freitas and I, so we could have Miss Augustine attend the May 25th meeting if need
Okay.
be.
That way you get the student side of
Sure.
what they're doing.
And then we also have, I know as a discussion item that was on our former agenda, the student advisors, and we want to hear back from them and plan for the next year. So I don't know if we need to keep that as a separate item, but as I'm looking at Michael, is there anything else that we should be adding to this?
Except for next meeting for finals. And I
Okay.
think that's all. I think everything's
Okay.
good with that.
I will resend the survey that Michael and Lily completed, because the next step of that process was if the board president and a representative wanted to do any follow-up exit meeting with Michael and Lily.
Okay.
We could schedule that. The applications for the next year's student advisor to the Board of Education are due May 10th, and Dr. Freitas sent out a reminder the last 2 weeks for students to apply. I believe Mary Ann and I have received 1 or 2 requests or applications.
But Michael and Lily have 2 more board meetings, correct? After
Their
this one?
last meeting is the
One more.
25th.
One more
Next
board meeting.
one.
Okay, so then we definitely have to include that as an item. And I think it was on a prior agenda, so it shouldn't be an issue to
Correct.
continue it. Okay, thank you.
So if we wanted to have that discussion before the meeting, so if the
Mhm.
board members wanted to share what the exit meeting they had maybe with Michael and Lily, that would need to occur before the 25th, so that we
Okay.
can have some more, better
Yeah.
discussion for the board.
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, Tom, you were instrumental in bringing them on board. I'm assuming you want to be part of that discussion?
I'd be happy to.
Okay.
Yeah, I was going to suggest
Okay.
that if anyone doesn't have any objections, I think it should be Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Is there only 2 applications at this point? Is there a way to boost
That's why we
that?
sent out another reminder yesterday.
I'll let people know, because I didn't even know it was sent out. I didn't get
Yeah,
it.
perhaps
It
you
would only
and
go to the
Lily
junior class
could
month.
Yeah, that's why.
Could.
Okay.
find some people. Dr. Freitas, I don't know if you and Mr. Mannon have any students on your advisory council committees that you have that maybe you could nudge to apply. I generally speaking find those who always do, right? Like those of us sitting at the table, those who never do, and those who will do if they're, you pump up their feathers, right? And you say like, I really think you'd be good at this. And they're like, oh, I was gonna, but I didn't know. And so then they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do it, right? So maybe we could find some of those people to bring into the fold.
Yeah, a
That'd
lot
be
of
great.
people I know, when we were applying, were worried about the overcommitment, but like, honestly, me and Lily haven't had any trouble coming to meetings. It's not too much work, so.
And that's helpful information, I
Yeah,
think, for Dr.
yeah.
Freitas to share, that it's.
Yeah, it's
mean-
not like you're gonna have to drop all your activities. or anything.
Okay. And you two are both very busy students, so that's good to know. Any?
I would
Yeah.
like to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'd like to ask for just some clarification on each of the advisory council roles, and to seek more information on where information on diversity, equity, and inclusion may be within those councils, as well as professional development. So more discussion around it, and I expect that I'll get more of that information in the meantime anyway, so.
You want to clarify what you're looking for there, Ryan?
So within each committee, I mean, clearly finance is not one that would be all that confusing to understand that we're talking about dollars and cents, but just some description of what exactly falls under personnel, what exactly we're talking about between the technology and curriculum. Policy, I think, is, generally clear, as it's very general. Facilities, I think we can all imagine, but just a little bit more. And I'm specifically looking a little bit more for where we as a board have a closer connection to where we can understand prior to meetings, and to bring to discussion things around professional development that's being implemented, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion topics.
So, Ryan, one of those things, those are not committees, just, to.
Correct.
clear. Yeah, and
Said
those are
advisory councils.
councils, and those are completely driven by the superintendent. 'Cause
Sure.
those are his, so
Yep.
they're a little unique.
And I think a lot of it'll just,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, right, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right, it'll fall into place though, a lot of it, and all of us are more than willing to support both of you in all of your, fact-finding and questions and the things that come up, as you're looking at board book and all of that, so don't be afraid to reach out and ask. There's lots of questions to be
Sure.
asked, right? Yes, for sure.
There was some discussion from the board previously about possibly assigning mentors to new board members. Is that something the board think it's still about doing, or?
I think it's a very good idea. I think
That's kind of
that,
why I do one
Yeah.
veteran board member, a new board member on
Right.
the council, so
Right.
someone
Yeah.
can say like,
Right.
hey,
right.
every May and June, finance, you'll be working on the budget. Then we don't, and you'll see the board calendar, I'll send it out in a Friday update, so that will give you an idea how often they meet and kind of what they're meeting about. But it might be also an opportunity then to have some additional dialogue between a veteran board member and a new board member, so they can.
No, and certainly our board policies, account and encourage to have a mentor-type program. I mean, is anyone here particularly interested in, this is coming out wrong, who would like to be, this is going to sound very awkward, but if there's someone that has a particular interest, I think you can shoot me or Dr. Skinkis a note, and I think that's something that can be kind of set up. I think it's helpful to talk to someone on the board, because the board agenda is lengthy, and it's lengthy and complicated and covers a variety of issues that, you don't at first blush realize are going to be on the board agenda, right? Picking a newspaper. It makes sense, but it's an item that is
Sure.
somewhat
Out of
random
left
seeming.
field.
Right, right.
I
So-
think you guys could be comfortable, you can talk to any one of us,
For sure.
privately,
Thank you.
or just give us a call, hey, pick our brain on anything, so.
Well, I think, I mean, if I could,
Sure,
we've
sure.
had a couple of conversations of, we would like, Deanna and I, about possibly having, again, a mentor for each of the new board members, and again, this is so you can kind of think in your head what might be appropriate for you, but also either one or two to support the students as well. So,
I would
there
say,
could be
I
up
think,
to-
I think one is enough, because if you're gonna have two of us like me and Lily, I'd rather speak to like one mentor. Like Ms. Davis was really helpful for us, because we were right next door, so any questions we had. was helpful.
Gotcha.
It was a mentorship of convenience, right?
But those,
Yeah.
so two, three,
Mhm,
right?
sure.
3, I guess, would be, if you're saying you think even if we go with one student or 2 students this time around, because there's no guarantee that it's 2, this
Yeah.
just sort of ended up this way, right? So that you think one person for
2 students is
For
fine,
2
yeah.
students would be
A single point
sufficient?
of contact, okay.
Okay.
I think that you're on the student board, Mary, you're talking about the board members.
No, I think
Well, we're
all
talking-
all of the above, right?
We're talking about, all the above.
Okay.
I think the question is, how do you make sense of the agenda the first
Sure,
couple times you see
absolutely.
it, right?
Onboarding, mentorship, right?
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I'm happy to be that resource. I think, Laura's been on the board for a number of years, has a lot of experience, and can certainly share her experience. Bill, Mona, Tom, I think I could speak for all of us that we're here to share the information we have. But I think
Right.
setting up that kind of one-on-one affiliation may be helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I
kind
agree.
of what we talked about,
Yeah.
right? Like the go-to.
Yes,
the
right,
go-to,
so we can,
right?
so if anyone's particularly interested, we can talk about that, and we'll get that moving in the coming weeks then. Sounds good.
Okay, thank you.